there being so much history here in Cincinnati, we want to kind of start with that. It's a great place to have it all in one place. And today we want to highlight a local author with a wealth of knowledge of the Queen City, Greg Hand.
And Greg is no stranger to the show. We were actually saying that he's been here longer than Michelle and myself, and he recently published a book, kind of a compilation of a lot of his Cincinnati curiosities. So good to have you here, Greg.
Always a pleasure.
And here's the cover of your book here. So tell us about Cincinnati Curiosities. What's it all about?
Well, the book grew out of a blog, just as the history segments here on Cincy Lifestyles grew out of that blog. And the thing about blogs is you get things piecemeal.
Right.
You know, you get 1,000 words a week or, you know, a short segment. And there is, in fact, a philosophy behind the blog. And it's an attempt to remind people what a really strange place Cincinnati used to be. You know, we tell ourselves that this is a nice, quiet, conservative town, and we like graders and skyline and root for the Reds and the Bengals, and we have church festivals, and this is what we do.
But you look under that rock.
You look under that rock, and we find sea monsters in the Ohio River, and we find witchcraft, people being accused of it, and we find all sorts of bizarre things. And that's what the book is an attempt to do, to kind of show that all in one place.
I like how you're calling it just a very strange place, but it's a good place.
It is a good
It has
place.
evolved into a very, maybe a safer place than what we're talking about now. But you've actually co-authored 3 other books. What did it mean to you to be able to put this together?
At the age of 71, I felt like I was growing up. I had done 3 books with a co-author, Kevin Grace, who was the archivist for many years at the University of Cincinnati. And in fact, this book is dedicated to Kevin because he got me into this whole history thing. But yes, this one I thought, well, let's see if we can just fly solo.
Yeah, why not? And then you've done a great job with it. Do you have a favorite chapter, Greg, that you especially like?
Oh, you know, there are so many to choose from, but I think probably my favorite chapter, I'm a resident of Westwood, and in Cincinnati around 1900, the city of Cincinnati declared war on Westwood.
Really? I never knew that.
And it was newly annexed to the city, and it was filled with saloons that the patrons got out of hand, and they had to keep sending cops out there. And so the headlines in the newspaper actually say, "War on Westwood begins."
Oh, wow.
As they sent reinforcements out. And that's probably my favorite one, because I can look out my window and see where these battles took place.
Right.
Who would have known?
Yeah.
In Westwood.
In Westwood, of all places, yeah. So
Yeah.
tell us about 1920. You said 1920 was kind of a pivotal time.
Oh my goodness, yes. This city was so different before 1920 compared to what it was after 1920. Cincinnati was run by a boss, a political boss, George Barnsdale Cox, who is known as Boss Cox. His mansion is now the Clifton Public Library.
Oh, I know it.
But it was a criminal enterprise. It was like the mafia running the city. He collected bribes, kept saloons, gambling, prostitution open as long as the money flowed in. Everything was run by horses. Consequently, many of the streets were not paved. Women were just ignored because they didn't vote. After 1920, with women getting the vote, the charter system of government coming in, automobiles taking over the streets, this became what we now think of as the modern city of Cincinnati.
So interesting. And that's kind of stories you can find in Cincinnati Curiosities.
Yeah, it's so
Awesome.
fascinating. I could just listen to you tell me more stories about Cincinnati all day. And hopefully people are interested after hearing this chat with us today. How can people grab a copy of your book?
It's in most of the local bookstores. I normally recommend that people check out Downbound Books in Northside. It's a very nice bookstore, and they have been expeditious at restocking this one. Most of the online sources also have it as well, but buy local.
Absolutely. I think that
local.
that has my name on it somewhere, or will have.
It will.
Greg, thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Indeed, always a
Cincinnati
pleasure.
Curiosities.